Welcome to Ask ALLi, the self-publishing advice podcast from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week it's our monthly members Q&A, where ALLi members have their most pressing publishing questions analyzed and answered. Our members Q&A podcast stream is proudly sponsored by BookVault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with BookVault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. And here are your hosts for the members Q&A, Michael Laran and Sasha Black.
Hello and welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi, the member Q&A podcast, the podcast where we answer your most burning self-publishing questions. I'm Michael Laran and I'm joined by Sasha Black. What's up, Sasha?
Hello. How are you?
I am great. How are things with you?
I'm carrying a little bit of a cold at the moment, but other than that, I'm pretty good. My latest Kickstarter will pay out tomorrow, so that's going to be quite exciting.
Oh, that's exciting. Yes, indeed. And is there the opportunity for late pledges? Anybody that might be interested?
No, we're not doing late pledges in that way. We have had a few people come sort of outside of Kickstarter and say, oh, I missed it by a day or whatever, and we've let them sort of organise it through the team. But we're over ordering stock, so then we'll sell the stock on the website afterwards. So
okay, what's the name of your series so people know if they want to support you?
This one was the Girl Games series. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success. That was
Thanks.
fun to watch. Yeah.
It was a wild one. I don't think I expected it to do quite as well as it did.
Well, that's good. You are the Kickstarter queen officially.
I'm not sure
Kickstarter
about
queen. Yeah. Well, and we were just talking about Kickstarter before we started. So if anybody has Kickstarter questions, we would be happy to take those. So We're starting to get to the point where we don't have as many questions coming in. So folks, if you want your questions answered, if you're an ALLi member, please go to your ALLi dashboard. There's a link on your dashboard to submit your question to us. So let's jump into our first question. And that is from Karen. And Karen asks, is Nielsen's enhanced services an effective marketing tool? Have you used that, Sasha?
I have not. Have you?
I have not either. So I would recommend, Karen, that you ask that in our member Connect forum. Clearly, there will be somebody in our member Connect forum that has used it and will be able to advise you on whether that is a good tip. Now, Karen also asks, has anyone ever had issues with product availability regarding BookVault? There's no other context to that question, but Sasha, maybe, have you had any issues
Product
there?
Availability? No, I have never had any issues really with BookVault in terms of the back-end systems and integration. I'm trying to think why that might have happened. Like, I'm trying to get my brain to troubleshoot some of the reasons. I wonder if they had it on pre-order or... No, because everything is digital. She shouldn't have any issues with availability at all. The one thing that she may have found is a delay in the product printing and shipping. I occasionally had a problem with that if they had a busy period, like over Christmas. It was a bit bonkers. Everything got a bit slow over Christmas. But that is kind of the same for any printer. Ingram is the same as well. So I can't think of another reason. That might be one to contact their customer service team.
Yeah, I would definitely reach out to BookVault on that if you're having any issues. That's the first I've heard of any product availability issues either.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is from William. And William asks, what are good alternatives to Meta and Amazon ads right now if you are reluctant to support those platforms? I'm assuming just given all the things that are going on politically right now.
Yeah, it's such a hard one, because I think if you are ads oriented, if you're good with numbers or analytical, then advertising is a great, views source. This whole game of publishing is about visibility, and the way that you get visibility is by driving traffic. And the two biggest methods for doing that are either advertising or social media. Social media doesn't necessarily like directly sell a book, but it will build the platform and drive the traffic to the platforms that will then sell the books, so it's tricky. I mean, I don't advertise at all. So I spend a few quid a month on Amazon ads, and that's about it. I don't have personal experience on things like Google ads or Pinterest ads or anything like that. So I wouldn't want to give advice on that. I do know a few authors using Pinterest ads, but I don't know what their success rates are like. I think it's difficult because the biggest piece of advice that I tend to give at the moment is what works for you. Platforms aside, and the owners of those platforms aside, our readers are in certain places. And there's nothing that we can do about that. Like, you have to go where the readers are. You might not like it, but if you need to sell the books to pay the bills, then there has to be a little bit of eating pie because we have to go and be there and have a presence in that place. So, I mean, if you don't want to use Meta or Amazon ads, then you could consider converting to social media and trying to build a presence on social media. It's a lot of sweat equity. You do need to have some kind of either ability to be on camera or an ability to understand the algorithms and provide content that matches whatever will work on the algorithms. If you don't want to do that, then I would say you either have a choice to go with the ads or to try some of the smaller advertising options like Pinterest or Google ads, on the understanding that they may not be as effective as the big ones. There are two other things that you could do. You could try BookBub ads. So there's two different types of BookBub ad. There is the featured deals, which are the more expensive ones where you get a big placement in their newsletter. Though I will say that those are run with discounted books. So you would need like a 99-cent deal or a free book in order for that to work. And then the other one is at the bottom of those emails, they have the pay-per-click ads. And again, the thing that works best with those is the discounted books, which does make it quite hard to get a good return on your investment unless you have extremely high read-through rates and a long series. So, and then the last one is platform innate advertising. So, for example, Kobo has their own ads options inside the Writing Life platform. So you can look at that. And if you don't have access to that, email kobo@writinglife.com to get access. I'm pretty sure that's the right email address. And then places like Barnes & Noble, they also have their own innate ads. And I believe Drafted Digital have a list as well of things that you can potentially get access to, though I don't know how to do that, but they do. So you could email their support team to ask how to get involved in that. Very tricky, very tricky.
Yeah, I agree. Something you said, Sasha, that I think is the heart of it all, which is we can't control where our readers are. And whether you like Facebook or Amazon or you don't like them, you can't deny that they are the place where the readers hang out. And so giving up those ad platforms for whatever reasons, valid or not valid, you are giving up those pools of readers in a way. And I'm just not sure that there is a way to circumvent that unless you follow the advice that Sasha gave, around being willing to do social media, for example, or being willing to be on video. Like the first thing that came to my mind was TikTok, just because that's where a lot of readers hang out. I don't necessarily know that that's a substitute. To me, I think the answer is yes, and fight your battles in another way. But that's an opinion of one.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok, I'm a huge advocate for TikTok because obviously it changed my life.
Yeah.
And it is difficult. Like, I think you have to approach social media on the understanding that it's a game and you have to learn the rules of the game and how to play the game. And if you don't like the rules and you don't like the game, don't play the game. But I mean, for me, TikTok has created an enormous business. So I do think it's a substitute, but I don't think it's a like for like substitute because the work you have to do is totally different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're going to play a game. It's just a matter of which game you
Yes.
want to play. Do you want to play
Yeah.
the Amazon Facebook ad game, or do you want to play the TikTok game? Or do you
Yeah.
want to play both? I don't know. I mean, yeah. So I think ultimately you have to choose. And I think no matter who you choose or which game you choose, there's going to be some level of discomfort about who the players in the game are, to keep torturing that metaphor. All right. Let's move to the next question. And this is from Dan. And this is more, I believe, more of a UK oriented question, but I think we can answer it from both sides of the pond. Dan says, I understand I need public liability insurance in the UK to sell books at craft fairs and markets. And I was wondering if there are any deals or discounts available for ALLi members for this type of insurance.
I don't know. I haven't looked in the dashboard. I had
As far as I know, there's not for insurance. But the thing go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say they can use like Compare the Market or whatever those confused.com and stuff. Those websites would probably have comparison insurers, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Is there a requirement to have public in the UK? Are you required to have insurance to sell at fairs?
Okay. So I'm not sure about required. I think it's probably advised, but I don't think public liability is too expensive. What is expensive is employer's insurance. So I am required to have public liability insurance because I have employer's insurance. So now that I have a team, I was required to get employer's insurance, which was super expensive. And then they only sell that or give it as a package with public liability. You can't get it on its own. Or I couldn't anyway. That's what they told me. Whether or not there are other companies, I don't know. Maybe that was just a facet of what that particular company was, but that's how it was sold to me. But yeah, you can. I don't know that it's. Look, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give advice. I've definitely sold at fairs in the UK without it, but it might be one of those things that the organisers of the event have said, we want you to have liability insurance. But I would have thought that the organisers of the event were the ones who needed the liability insurance, not the individual authors. But
well, it's possible that the authors could. And when we talk about public liability insurance in the UK, that public liability insurance is what we refer to as general liability insurance in the US. And employer's liability is, or employees liability, is that what you call it? Employer's
insurance is when you employ people.
Yeah, and they get injured and they have to. Yeah, that's what we would call workers' compensation, just to make sure both sides of the pond understand what we're saying. I'm an insurance guy. This is what I do on a daily basis. So yeah, as far as I know, in the US, you're not required to. I mean, unless you sign a contract with the venue that says that you have to have liability insurance, then you're required to have it. But fairs and book signings and stuff, that's just not a huge part of my marketing model. It's been a long time since I've done that. But when I did it, nobody ever gave me a contract that said that I had to have it.
It's funny because this is so left field, but when I got married, I needed public liability insurance.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. But the venue was like, no, you need public liability insurance because we were having like 100 people or whatever it was in the venue. And it was like a air quotes party or whatever. So yeah, they made us get public liability insurance then.
Yeah. I had to do the same thing when I got married. It's called over here it's called wedding liability insurance, where you have to actually purchase a So the reason they do that, so the organizers have their own liability insurance, right? So if something happens as a result of somebody coming to the event and they fall down and break their head open or something like that, then that was a really bad visual. But if they fall down and hurt themselves, and they sue the event, then the event needs insurance to cover themselves, right? But there could be some theoretically, say an author is handing out books and they go and they're handing out books and they accidentally trip somebody and they fall and hit their head on a table and they're hurt. and it's the author's fault, not the event's fault, then they're probably going to sue the event, but the event is also going to want the author to have insurance so that it mitigates their own liability.
Yeah.
And, sometimes authors do some crazy stuff at these events. I mean, I've been to events where people dressed up as T-Rexes and, thumping around, and, they've got props and maybe there's swords and things. I mean, anything can go wrong. You just use your imagination. We're authors, right? So that's why it's not a bad idea to have policies for these sorts of things. But, you have to pay annually for public liability insurance, I'm sure. For at least for general liability insurance, you do. And if you wanted to get insurance for just one event, that's, not really worth it. Here in the United States, you can purchase what's called homeowner's liability or renter's liability. And often, not always, because I can't say always, but often that will cover you for any events that you're doing, like a signing or something like that, as long as there are not exclusions on your policy that would prevent that. So an example of a homeowner's liability claim. Okay. So let's say I'm out golfing, and when I'm golfing, I accidentally hit a golf ball and the golf ball hits somebody in the head. Right. Well, you're thinking, well, Michael, you're not at home. Why would homeowner's liability cover that? Homeowner's liability actually covers any events, many activities that you're doing away from the home as well. So homeowner's liability, technically, in theory, could potentially provide you coverage. You would want to call your insurance agent and talk to them about that. I don't know how things are in the UK. I'm assuming you have something similar, right? You have homeowner's liability for your home.
We have contents insurance and house insurance. Yes. Like the house, I think insurance is actually called buildings insurance. And then we have contents insurance. And the contents insurance will insure like laptops and bicycles and things away from the home if you put it on the insurance. So you have to, it's not a standard, you have to actually say, I want this covered away from home. But no, I don't, not to my awareness, are we personally covered away from the house?
Okay. So what happens? So what insurance do you have if you have a dog and somebody comes to your house and the dog bites somebody? What insurance would cover that?
I don't think it would. I don't know anything.
Okay.
Usually the dog just gets put down in the UK and they go to hospital.
Okay. Well, in the United States, there's a lawsuit,
right. But we don't do that
here. Exactly. And in some states, the dog gets the first bite free, and then the second bite they get put down, and you get sued. Yeah. So again, it's so interesting how different things are across the pond. But here in the United States,
I could be wrong, but I've not heard of anything. Like my friend's dad got bitten by a dog the other day, or not the other day, it was about a year ago. And nothing really happened. That he ended up in hospital with like a chunk out of his leg, but Yikes. Like there wasn't any compensation or anything.
Well, maybe talk to somebody. Maybe there could be some compensation. Although, again, things are so different across the pond. But I guess encourage people to look at the insurance that you have. Whether you're in the U.S. or the UK, look at what you have and ask questions on whether that could potentially cover it. And that might be your answer, as opposed to going out and buying something that you may not need.
Yeah.
The chances of things happening at these events are extremely rare. That's why, they're not going to make you sign a contract 9 times out of 10. But if they do, then maybe they have some recommendations on where you can purchase insurance as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully no one's eyes are bleeding over all this insurance talk. Although I love it when people are talking about insurance, because
I can tell.
Okay. So obviously I know a lot about this, but I also think that it's a very prudent thing to be thinking about this, right? Because if something were to happen to your author business, it happens to you personally, not necessarily your business, because most of us are sole proprietors, right? And sole traders. So it behooves you to think about these sort of things, even if nothing happens.
By that, you mean we don't own a company? Whereas I think most of my friends have companies.
Yeah, if you have a limited, then again, in the UK things are different, but here in the States, most people are sole traders. They're individuals. There's no legal separation between you and your business, and so if you do get sued, if something does happen, then they're going to come after you personally.
Oh, that's interesting. In the UK, once you hit a certain financial bracket, it actually it's more tax efficient to be a company than it is to be an individual.
Now, what about legally? If you're sued, do they sue can they sue the business, or can they only sue the business, or can they sue you personally as well?
I think it would. Oh, I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I mean, the company is the owner of the books, not me. Not me. I think, because that's what the separation is. But again, not a lawyer, don't know the detail. This is not my area of expertise at all. So I should probably stop talking because
we won't settle it today.
Yeah.
I mean, but just remember, and I think this is an important distinction. There is the tax piece of your company, and there is the legal piece of your company, and they are not always the same.
No.
Right? So you have to make sure you understand the differences between the two of those, because just because you might incorporate or have a limited company for tax purposes, the legal stuff is totally different, right? It has a different set of consequences. So
these are my least favorite topics.
yeah, they're not fun. But the good thing is that you can talk them out with a lawyer, figure it out, and usually it's a once and done kind of thing. And you figure it out, and then at tax time, then you have a little freak out, and then you figure it out, and then life goes on.
Yeah.
Which we probably shouldn't talk about when we're recording this, but I had to cry at my desk over tax day. But life
trust
goes
me,
on.
My tax bill this year is more than I used to earn in a whole year in corporate.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal.
I definitely had some tears.
Some tears and maybe some alcohol.
And some impolite, not safe for work words.
Yeah.
Definitely spoken.
Well, we'll keep it safe for everybody listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Our next question is from Thomas. And the question is there a place at ALLi where I can locate experienced help with marketing and promotion for my debut novel?
Oh, I would say go into the forum for the first thing and just have a look at, I'm sure you can do a search in there and look for comments or type in marketing or, and have a look in there. But I mean, there are so many resources. Like ALLi is absolutely crammed packed full of resources for this specific question. So we've got the marketing book. We've released that now, haven't we? We've released the marketing book.
I don't know
if you've got we'll get the title for you in just a second. But of course, we also have the podcast, and you can go into the podcast archives and search the website for all of the ALLi podcasts that have covered marketing topics and questions. And we also have the blog as well, where, I mean, there are quite literally thousands of blog posts on marketing. I think my biggest bit of advice for you is to narrow down the search, because if you just type in marketing, you'll get like a huge variety of things that won't actually necessarily tell you where to start. So be a bit more specific. So for example, you could go to the blog. I know we've got a series of 3 posts on newsletter building, creation, building and maintenance, for example, like on newsletters. I know that we've got past posts on advertising. I know that we've got past posts on attending in-person events and making the most of that. I know we've got posts on social media, different types of social media. So like, you really have to be a little bit more specific on what kind of marketing you want to research. I mean, I'm happy to talk through what I think the basics are, if that would be helpful. I don't know, because obviously the question was, where in ALLi do I go? But
I think, we've talked about that a lot on the show. I would just listen to previous episodes with marketing in the title, and chances are, I mean, this is one of the most common questions we get on the show is marketing basics. I echo everything you said, Sasha. Check the member forum guidebook. The guidebook is called Sell More Books. It is not out yet, but it is coming soon. So just stay tuned.
There are some other podcasts as well, like Joanna Penn's podcast is fantastic. So I'd recommend that. That's the Creative Pen. But even if you just in your podcatcher app and you just type in like book marketing, there are thousands of podcasts on there. But Joanna Penn obviously is an ALLi advisor and has like a literal decade of content for you. So that's another place to go.
Yep, I agree. And don't forget our services directory as well, and our partner directory. So if you're, because it sounds like behind the question that you might want some more guided advanced help as well. Just be sure to do your due diligence if you hire somebody. That's something we always talk about. I think it can be done. I think there are good marketing companies out there, but you just got to really be careful. And if I would definitely hire a partner member, somebody that ALLi deems a partner member, or do your homework and really make sure that whoever you hire has a track record. Okay. Next question is from Simon. And that question is, I have a website domain on WordPress and I want to buy a website design. Does ALLi have any recommendations? Where would you get a WordPress design?
So when I bought my last one, I think it was Studio Press. I believe that's where I went, and it was about $100, I think. And it was very good, very simple, fairly easy to install. And I am like not techie at all, but they had some videos and stuff. So that was pretty good. But I think the other thing that I would ask is, what do you want your website for? Because the reason I say this is that I used to have a self-hosted WordPress website for my Ruby Row books, and I got rid of it. And now I only have a Shopify website. So Shopify, actually, because I wanted a transactional website, I just mapped the domain to Shopify, and now Shopify are my host. So I would ask, before you go ahead and buy a WordPress plugin sort of overlay, I would just say, what are you trying to do? Because Shopify is a bit of a all-encompassing, does it all for you. Whereas if you do WordPress, you're going to have plugins like maybe WooCommerce or PayHip, and the integrations are a little bit more technical and difficult, whereas Shopify is very, very simple and straightforward. I love them, but that's my personal experience and opinion. I know not everybody has such an easy time with them, but
well, the landscape has changed, right? So 5 years ago, we wouldn't have even been talking about Shopify.
No,
I mean, honestly, Joanna probably would have been, but other than that, we wouldn't have been talking about Shopify. WordPress was WordPress and Squarespace and maybe Wix and Weebly were the places in town, and you had to have a design based on that, and you could hire a designer, or you could purchase like Studio Press, like a template or something, or Divi. That's what I've used for a long time. But now the landscape has changed, and honestly, I'm of your opinion, Sasha, that if somebody was starting a website today, I probably would build it on Shopify.
Yeah.
Even if you're not sure if you're going to sell a whole lot of books, so that first book, I just think it's just future proofing, because I think that's where things are going.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I think all of the above is true. And there's lots of, Studio Press has been around for a long time. I think my very first website template was Studio Press. And I switched to Divi at some point, probably 10 years ago, honestly. It's been a long time. And things just don't change that much in the WordPress world. They just don't change. And I think that's one reason why it wouldn't be a bad idea to shake things up and go with Shopify.
Yeah.
And just the direct sales piece of it. You don't have to use, you can still use your site for stuff other than direct sales, right? Yeah. It's not like you
can have web pages and things. And,
all of that.
But my Shopify now outsells my Amazon. So.
Yeah. So unlimited upside.
Exactly.
Okay. Next question is from Michelle. And the question is, does ALLi have a standard legal copyright notice for the copyright page of books?
I think we did a blog post recently. That's what I want to say. I am almost certain that we have at least one post, possibly two, on this, because there is no standard, like, you can make it up. And the way that I first approached it was to look inside a load of other books and look what they'd written and write something similar. But I believe that ALLi updated it somewhat recently. I would say the last 18 months or so.
Yeah. Let's see.
Might have.
It was a little bit longer than 18 months. It was 2022.
Oh, blimey.
But yeah, I remember because, I think I contributed to that.
You did. That's why I was thinking of it.
Yeah,
was it really 2022? My God.
Yeah. And actually, my example of my copyright page is on this blog, actually. So
that's hilarious.
One of yours. Well, Orna's is on here. Okay. So we'll put a link in the show notes. The name of the article is Creative Self-Publishing, Creating Your Copyright Page, a guide for indie authors.
So I actually thought they'd done a newer one that included a statement about AI, but that might be one that we have to look up before.
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Because that was the first one that popped up when I searched. So we'll figure it out and we'll throw it in the show notes. So by the time you're listening, this will be solved.
Yeah.
So just check the show notes and we've got you covered. But what you said, Sasha, I think is honestly the best way to do it, which is just pick, really authors who are selling very well in your genre, or it doesn't even have to be your genre, but authors that are selling really well. Look at their copyright page, take notes, look at 5 of them, right? And then what's common to all 5, do in yours.
Yep.
And it really is that simple. It'll take you 10 minutes. Okay. Next question is from Steven. Okay. This is a bit of a long question. This will be our final question and we can kind of dig into this a little bit. So, like many authors, I use KDP to promote and sell my books. However, I want to start distancing myself from Amazon. I found other providers for my ebooks and I'm going wide, but I'm still stuck with selling physical books. Unlike the United States, readers in the UK and France and Belgium favor physical books to digital ones. As I don't have an agent or publisher, I highly rely on print on demand, and Amazon KDP so far is the most convenient solution. Here's the question. Do other platforms offer the same level of print on demand platforms as KDP? I've looked at Ingram Spark and Barnes & Noble Press, but they don't seem to have a big presence in the EU market. What do you think, Sasha?
So Ingram Spark is going to do more than KDP. So I always recommend that people use both of them. It's not really one or the other for Ingram, at least. I would say that it's both, because Ingram Spark have access to lots and lots of bookstores. So if you load your books through Ingram Spark, you are going to see the odd sale for potentially a bookstore. If someone goes in and tries to order your book, they'll be able to access the Ingram Spark catalogue. In terms of, my confusion is, are they using KDP to order author copies that they're then selling? Are we inferring that from what they're saying?
I don't see why not.
Because I wasn't sure whether or not there's how, or is what they're saying that on their KDP account, they're selling more paperback than ebook.
I think they're just trying to maximize their distribution.
Okay.
And they want to use KDP less and something else more for whatever reason.
So a couple of things. The first one is definitely get your books loaded to Ingram Spark, because they have a huge catalogue of potential buyers. And it, costs you virtually nothing. Well, nothing now, I think, to upload your book to Ingram Spark. All my books go to Ingram. And I actually think the quality is better on Ingram necessarily than KDP. KDP is great for print, but I think Ingram Spark, because they focus solely on physical books, it's slightly better. And also they will do the wholesale discounts, which means you'll be able to increase your chances of getting into bookstores, but also they will be able to do author copies for you and they'll ship them to you, and they have printers in the UK. Now, the other thing that I would say is that if you are considering having your own direct store and or events, like in-person events, and that's how you're selling physical copies, I would consider a short, very short, but small print run. So typically when you work with printers, the minimum print run is 500 books. That's an awful lot if you're not selling, tons and tons of print copies. However, I have since found some middle ground printers, and I won't say the names just because I don't know if they're partner members or not, but there are printers in the UK that will do print runs by the 100. Now, obviously, the closer you get to 500 or over 500, the greater the discount. But even at 100 copies, they will be cheaper than print on demand. So I would also look at potentially that. We've done an interim print run whilst we wait for an overseas shipment to come in. But yeah, so that would be another option to look at. They are cheaper than the print on demand pricing, but obviously if you're only doing 100, which I think is the lowest that you can do, it's not going to be too dissimilar to print on demand, but you might get a few pennies off here, there and everywhere. In terms of print distribution, that is pretty standard, I would say. I'm not sure that there's anything else that you would need to do. If you want to run your own like Shopify account, then I would work with BookVault. BookVault integrates seamlessly with Shopify, and they will do your print on demand printing for your Shopify. So you could think about that as another option as well. But other than that, I think that's probably the big ones.
Okay. What about the EU specifically? Because there was that portion of the question that referred to Belgium and France, in the UK possibly preferring physical books. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a real pain in the ass at the moment because of the GSPR or whatever it is. EAS, IOSS, oh my God, it is a nightmare. What I would say is that, look, I can only speak from what we are doing. What we are doing in my warehouse and distribution center is that anything that is under 2 kilos can go to Europe, no problems. If somebody orders something that is over 2 kilos, what we've done is set my store to charge shipping twice because we have to split ship. We cannot ship to Europe over 2 kilos because if we do, you then have to have much higher levels of registration and so on and so forth. We are in the process of registering with something called EAS, which will give us the designated person in Europe. It's about £500 a year. Of course, if you're not selling more than £500 a year into Europe, then it's not going to be worth it for you. I am, which is why we're doing it. So, I mean, it really depends on your print volume level and your shipping level. But yeah, we are registering with EAS, which will then give us the paperwork that we need. But then there's another part where you have to register for VAT in the EU as well. And then you have to pay VAT, and you can either you can do that through the one-stop shops. And there's different locations that will do it. The Netherlands and Ireland, for example, are 2 different places that you can register. It is very, very complicated at the moment. It has become unnecessarily complicated, I would say. And it is a bit prohibitive, but I'm stubborn and refuse to not ship to any customer who wants it. So we're having to deal with it. So that is what I am personally doing. I can't tell you whether or not that's right legally or in the systems or anything, because we're just trying to muddle our way through and understand the regulations as and when these things come up.
Yeah, I got nothing on that one. So yeah,
it's hard.
Good luck to my friends in the EU. That's rough. That's rough. Every place has their own problems, I guess, and that just happens to be the one in the EU, but maybe everybody will figure it out. All right. Well, we are at the bottom of our questions for this month, Sasha. So we are going to be called this one done. Check the show notes for any resources that we mentioned. Thank you for listening to Self-Publishing with ALLi, member Q&A podcast. We will be back next month with another member Q&A. So be sure to submit your questions on the ALLi dashboard if you are a member, and you just might hear it on the show. Thanks and take care.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Ask ALLi Members Q&A with Michael Laron and Sasha Black. Our Members Q&A podcast stream is proudly sponsored by BookVault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with BookVault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. Our weekly self-publishing advice podcast is produced by ALLi, the Alliance of Independent Authors. Find more author advice, tips, and tools at our Self-Publishing Advice Center, selfpublishingadvice.org. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org. Now, what are you waiting for? Go write and publish.